Yeah. So what we have seen is, so how to develop a class. I said how to develop a class here. Now this is how you develop a class. And I said developing a class is nothing but developing your own data type. Okay. Developing class is nothing but developing your own data type. And what is the advantage of encapsulation is, generally you'll say, so advantage of so what is the advantage? What is the advantage of encapsulation is, what is the advantage of encapsulation is, the first one is called as a data hiding. What is the advantage of encapsulation? Data hiding. Data hiding, and one more is what? Binding. So what is the advantage? So what is the advantage of encapsulation is data hiding, and one more is what? Binding. Okay. So data hiding means here, what is the data hiding here is? So data hiding is preventing data access by which functions? Other functions. Okay, preventing data access by other functions, or access from what? Other functions. That is called as which one? Data hiding. And this allows developing which applications? Some secured applications. This allows developing which applications here? Secured applications. Okay. So what is data hiding is? Data hiding is nothing but preventing data access from which functions? Other functions or outside functions. And this allows developing which applications? Secured applications. Secured applications. So what is the meaning of this here? For example, in the previous example, suppose there is a player. Player is a data type. And this data type is having how many properties? Two properties. One is player name and one more is what? Score. So player data should operated by the functions of which one? Player only. Player data should operated by the functions of which one? Player only. But should not operated by which functions? Outside functions. Okay. Otherwise, what will happen? You cannot able to understand this data is operated by which functions. To avoid that, so the data and the functions which operate on this data, you are trying to put inside one container. And what is that container here? Class. So the data and the operations which operate on this data, you are trying to put within one container, and that is a class. So player data should operated by only player functions. Okay, customer data should operated by only customer functions. And student data should operated by only student functions. But other functions should not operate this data. Then how can you hide the data? By declaring data as a private. By declaring data as a private. Okay. So this data hiding is achieved. Okay, by declaring data inside class as what? Private. But how can you declare the data as a private? Okay. So private variables are properties are prefixed with. Private variables are properties or prefixed with what here? Underscore. One underscore, that is called as a single. It is called as which underscore here? Single underscore. So any property which is prefixed with a single underscore, so that property is called which one? Private. So where that is accessible only within the class. Only members of the class can be accessible, but outside members cannot access it. Outside members cannot access it. Accessed by only the members of the same class, but cannot access by which members? Outside members. Cannot access by which members here? Outside members. Okay. Just here. For example, okay, for example, there is a class. Okay. So again, the name of the class is what again? Student is there. And within this, I'm writing one here, constructor. So constructor is for initializing or not? Yes. So where I'm writing this dot underscore roll number equal to some 0. Okay, this dot roll number equal to 0. And this dot underscore name equal to null. So I try to create how many properties here? 2 properties. Now student is having how many properties? 2 properties. What is the first property? Roll number. What is the second property? Name. But this roll number and name is declared as what? Private. For example, I create object of student. I'm saying let student 1 equal to which one? Student. So I created object of student. And after creating object of student, I'm saying console.log. I just access student 1 dot. What I'm accessing? Roll number. Roll number is accessible, right? Access here. Console.log. Again, I'm saying student 1 dot. Which one I access here? Name. Okay, student 1 dot. So create an object using a new keyword. So I created object of which class? Student class. Okay, now I try to access how many variables here? 2 variables. The first variable is a name, roll number, and second one is a name. Okay, yes. So what will happen if I run this code? So what will happen if you run this code? Okay, now it is given 0 and one more is what? Null. Because roll number is 0 and name is what here? Null. So is it roll number and name is accessible or not accessible? It is accessible, but when you are saying it is a private, is it private or accessible or not accessible? Not accessible, but this is only a naming convention. This is only a naming convention. It means you are telling that okay, don't access this variable where? Outside. It is only a naming convention, but if you are trying to access this properties outside, what will happen? Is it your JavaScript gives any error? No, it doesn't gives any error, but rather than it just access roll number and what? Name. But when you are saying it is underscore, when you are saying it is an underscore, right? So that indicates that okay, this variable is which one? Private, and this property is a private. Don't access where? Outside. Okay, you are telling indirectly that okay, this roll number and name is a private, and don't access this roll number and name where? Outside. But how can you differentiate the private property as well as public property? By just seeing which one? Prefix. If it is having a prefix, don't access this where? Outside. It is only a naming convention. But if you are trying to access it outside, is it accessible or not accessible? Accessible. It is accessible, but it is only a naming convention saying that any variable or any property or any method which is prefixed with underscore, okay, it is a private and don't use where? Outside. Don't use where? Outside. If you are trying to use outside, Your JavaScript engine is not giving any error. Your JavaScript engine doesn't give any error, right? So it is only a naming convention. Okay, it is a naming convention, right? It is a naming convention. Okay, what it says? Okay, it says it is a naming convention which tells okay, JavaScript developers, okay, so don't use JavaScript developers, okay, so don't use or private variables or don't access, okay, not access private variables, not access private variables or properties outside which one? Class. But if you access outside the class, okay, is it JavaScript engine gives any error here? No, JavaScript engine doesn't gives any error. Okay, right. So this is about underscore is there. One underscore is there, right? So this indicates what? Private, privacy, private. Okay, you just declare it by just giving which one? Underscore. Underscore is there, right? Yes. Actually, you write with the underscore. That doesn't indicate. Generally, property name, I mean variable name can begin with what? Underscore. But if any variable begin with the underscore inside a class, okay, that is treated as which one? Private. Okay. Yes. Then yesterday we have seen setters and what is that? Getters, right? Yesterday we have seen setters as well as getters. Okay. Then now you can also develop a class. You can also develop a class by inheriting the properties of which class? Existing class. So that is called as which one? Class reusability. Class reusability. So when you're talking about object-oriented application is a collection of which one? Classes. Object-oriented application is a collection of classes. It is not one class. Object-oriented application is not one class. It is a collection of classes. Object-oriented application is not one class. It is a collection of classes. The content of one class can be used inside which class? Another class. The content of one class can be used inside another class in different ways. Okay. In that, one of the way of using content of one class inside another class is what? Inheritance. One of the way of using that is using which one? Inheritance. Okay. So why we are using inheritance? Okay. We are using inheritance to use the content of one class inside another class. So inheritance provides a class reusability. So inheritance, what is inheritance here is, inheritance is a process of acquiring the properties and behavior of one class inside what? Another class. Okay, inheritance is a process of acquiring the properties and behavior of one class inside another class. It means you are developing a class or you are developing a data type. This allows to develop which one? Data type by inheriting. Okay, by inheriting or using properties and behavior. Using properties and behavior of which data type? Another data type. You are building, see why you are writing a class? You are writing a class to develop one data type. Class is a data type and you want to develop one data type using which data type? Existing data type. You want to develop a data type using which data type? Existing data type. By acquiring the properties of existing data type, then you go for which one? Inheritance. Inheritance is a process of organizing all the classes in the form of what? Hierarchy. Or inheritance is a process of grouping all the classes which share the common properties and what? Behavior. Okay. Inheritance. Inheritance is a process of grouping. All the classes which share common properties and what? Behavior. We share the common properties and behavior. So the relation between the classes in inheritance is a relation, is a type of. You'll say no, car is a vehicle. Okay, car is a, you'll say car is a vehicle. Okay, car is a vehicle. Car is a type of which one? Vehicle. Means car inherits all the properties of which one? Vehicle. Okay, in the same way, student is a person. Student is a person. Employee is a person. Okay, MCA student is a student. MBA student is a student. It means employee is a type of which one? Person. And student is a type of which one? Person. MCA student is a type of which one? Student. MBA student is a type of which one? Student. Means MCA student is inheriting the properties of which one? Student. MBA student is inheriting the properties of which one? Student. Employee is inheriting the properties of which one? Person. Okay, student is inherit the properties of which one? Person. Car is inherits the properties of which one? Vehicle. So the association between the classes in inheritance is which association? Is a. Means similar types. Is a means what? Similar type. Suppose dog is a, what is this? Animal. Dog is an animal, right? Dog is an animal. So what is the association? Is a. Dog is a type of which one? Animal. So it means dog inherits all the properties and behavior of which type here? Animal type. So inheritance provides reusability. Inheritance provides which one? Reusability. Inheritance provides reusability. Okay. What is reused here? The content of one class inside another class. What is there in the class? Every class is having some properties and methods. So what is reused here? Properties and methods of one class inside another class. What is reused here? Properties and methods of one class inside another class. Properties and methods of one class inside another class. You have to remember this, right? Okay. Then see here. In the hierarchy of inheritance, okay, you'll have two classes. So in inheritance, you'll have two classes. One is called as which class? Parent class. One is called as which class here? Parent class. And there is one more class. It's called as which one here? Child class. Now child class inherits all the properties and behavior of which class? Parent class. So this is which class here? Child class. So child class inherits all the properties and behavior of which one? Parent. Okay. So the association between this parent and child is what? Is a. So child is a type of which one? Parent. Right? So in the hierarchy of inheritance, always the parent class, you call it as parent class, right? This parent class is called which class here? Generalized class. What is a parent class here? Generalized class. Generalized means which is developed based on which one? Commonality. which is developed based on the commonality, that is called as which class? Generalized class. And child class inherits the properties of parent and is having his own properties. Now this is called as which class? Specialized class. The child class is called which class? Specialized class, which is having, okay, which is having properties, of which class? Parent class. And also have its own, what? Properties and what? Behavior. Also have its own properties and behavior. Okay. So this child is having his own properties apart from the properties inherited from what? Parent. That's the reason it is called as which class here? Specialized class. And parent is which class? Generalized. Suppose student is there. Or person is generalized. Person is generalized. Suppose assume that every person, okay, every person is having ID as well as what? Name. Every person is having ID and name. Now I want to develop some persons. In my application, I want to develop a person called employee. I want to develop one person called which one? Customer. How many persons I want to develop? 2 persons. One is employee and one more is a customer. Employees also have an ID and what? Name. And customer also have ID and name. Because this both the classes sharing same properties, right? Then you write those properties how many times? 1 time, and use it how many times? More than 1 time. You write it how many times? 1 time, and use it how many times here? More than 1 time. So what is the name of this class here? Person. So person is called as which class here? Generalized class. Person is a generalized class, and this person is inherited by how many classes here? 2 classes. There are 2 classes are there here. Okay. What is this class here? Employee. So employee is called as which class here? Child class. Employee is a child class, and customer. Okay, customer is also which class? Child class. So generally you call it as a base class, and one more is which class? Derived class. Base class, derived class, super class, subclass. So the name of this class can be what? Super class. The name of this class can be what? Parent class. The name of this class can be what? Base class. All these are one and the same. The class which is derived from that is called as which class? Child class. It is called as a subclass. Okay, na? And it is also called as a derived class. So what employee is having? Job. What employee is having? Job as well as which one? Salary. So employee is a person, is having ID, name, job and salary. What employee is having? How many properties are there? Employee? 4. One is ID, name, job and salary. And customer is having some credit. Customer is having some credit limit. Now, customer is also one type of which one? Person. What customer is having? ID, name, and what is that? Credit limit. So reusability. What is reused here? Properties. Please sit proper here. Sit proper. Then how to inherit a class, right? How to inherit a class. And these are the features which are introduced in which version of JavaScript is ES6. Okay, when these properties, all these are the features in ES6 JavaScript, right? So what are the features added in JavaScript ES6, right? So what is ES6 is ES6 stands for ECMA script what? 6. Is it a standardized or not? Yes. Okay, what are the things added is? What things are added? Now this is introduced in 2015, right? Okay. Changes or features. Okay. Okay, latent constant keyword. I'll tell you this. Arrow functions, multi-line strings are there and default parameters I didn't say. Okay, then template literals are there and destructing assignment and enhanced object literals, right? So even this is also inheritance. See here, classes. Classes concepts are introduced in which one? ES6 version, which is nothing but 2000. ES script 2000. In which version it is released in? In which year it is released in? 2015, right? So classes. We can declare a class using the new class keyword followed by the name of the class here. Okay, so this object oriented like classes are introduced in ES6. But before that, is it classes concept is there or not there? Not there. Before that, is it classes concept is there or not there? Not there. Okay, na? Yes. So how can I inherit a class? How can I inherit a class? I can inherit a class by using one keyword. What is that? Extends. Same like Java only, right? So extends keyword is there. Extends keyword is used, okay, to inherit a class, or a class derives another class by using which keyword? Extends keyword. So what is the advantage of inheritance? The advantage of inheritance is reusability. What is the advantage of inheritance? Reusability. Reusability means using the content of one class inside another class. Reusability. Extends is a keyword. Okay. So what is the syntax? The syntax of this extends keyword is you are writing class. You are writing class and followed by what name? Class name. Okay, class name. Which class name? Actually, this is called as which class? Subclass. And subclass extends which class here? Superclass, right? So class, subclass name extends superclass. How many? One or more. So you can give number of superclasses here. A class can extend either one class or more than one class. And within this, you create your own properties and you can write your own methods. You write your own properties as well as what? Methods. So, but you are trying to inherit a class by using which keyword? Extends keyword. You are trying to create a class by using which keyword? Extends keyword. Extends keyword is there. Okay, right. Yes. Then next is here. I'll try to develop one class. So I try to develop one class here. Okay. I try to develop a class. Okay, assume that name of the class is some A is there. A is a class. And within this, I'm writing a constructor. So I just write here console.log. This is which constructor here? Parent class. Parent class, which one? Constructor. Okay. This is a parent class constructor. And there is a class B. And class B extends. Class B extends what here? A. class B extends A, then I write a constructor here. So console dot log. So this is which constructor? Child class constructor. So there is a parent class constructor and there is a child class constructor. But when constructor get executed, whenever you create the object of a class. So I'm trying to create an object of which class? B class. But B is a child class or parent class? Child class. B is a child class. And this class is derived from which class here? A class. And A is called as which class here? Parent class. A is a parent class and B is a child class. So whenever you create the object, your object is created by invoking what here? Constructor. Whenever you create the object, your object is created by calling constructor. Which constructor will it call? If you see, it is called the constructor, right? What is it? Constructor is called child class constructor. And here you can see uncaught reference error. Must call which constructor? Super constructor in derived class before accessing which one? This. Before accessing this or returning from derived constructor. It means it is always required. It is always required to call the constructor of which class? Base class. It is always required to call the constructor of which class? Base class or super class within the constructor of which class? Child class. If you don't call the constructor of super class within the child class, you cannot be able to create properties in which class? Child. So there is no, for example, if Java is there, okay, so child class constructor automatically it will call the constructor of which class? Parent class. You don't require to call it. That calling is done by whom? Compiler, right? That calling, that statement is included by compiler. You don't require to call it, but when you are working with a JavaScript, now it is required. Constructor of child class must call the constructor of which class? Parent class. And what is a parent class here? A. So until you don't call the constructor of parent class, is it parent class properties are inherited in child class? No. I must call the constructor of which class? Parent class. But how I can call the constructor of parent class? By using which one? By using which one here? Super. Uncaught must call which constructor? Super constructor. So what do you add here? Super. What do you add here? Super. Now this super will refers to the constructor of which class? Super class. And the super class is nothing but which one? A. Okay, now if I run this, now is it any error is there? No. So parent class constructor and one more is child class. So until unless you don't call the constructor of parent class, the parent class properties are not inherited in what? Child class. Parent class properties are not inherited in child class and you cannot use this until you don't call the constructor of which class? Parent class, right? Yes. So it is required. Yes. But for that, you are using, what is that function you are using? Super. Okay. Yes. So child class constructor here, child class constructor must call the constructor of which class? Parent class. In order to inherit properties of which class? Parent class within what? Child class. Until unless you don't call the constructor of parent class within child class, okay, is it properties of parent are used in child? No. Okay, na? Right. So this calling is done. This calling is done using which constructor call? Super constructor call. So this will refers to immediate super class. Okay, this will refers to what? Immediate super class. What is the immediate super class for B? A. What is the immediate super class for B? A. So until unless, for example, okay, just here. Okay, until unless you don't call it, the properties of base class are not inherited in what? Derived class. Suppose there is a class person is there. Person is there, and I write a constructor in person. And what person is having? I'll say this dot. Person is having a name. Okay, I take only name. Person is having name, and the name of the person is what? Null. There is a class. There is a class. Which one? Student. Student is what here? Person. Student is a person. Student is what now? Person. Now I write a constructor, and this constructor, this dot, I'm saying this dot, what is that? Course. Student is having how many properties now? Student is having how many properties? One or two? Two. Actually, it should have how many properties? Two. One property is inherited from which class? Person class. Okay. Person is having what? Name. And the property name of person is inherited in what? Student. Right? But when it is inherited, when I can use this, I can use this only when I call the constructor of which class? Super class within the subclass. Okay. What will happen if I create object of student in this case? Let student 1 equal to new. New, what is that? Student. So what will happen if I run this? Immediately it is given what? Error. Saying that reference error must call the super constructor in derived class before accessing this or returning from what? Derived class constructor. Right? Now you must use one statement here. What is that statement? Super. Then when you say super, then only is it any error is there? No. Then what I can do? I can say console dot log. Student 1 dot name is a public, right? Student 1 dot name and log, and student 1 dot, what is this? Name. Sorry. Name, and one more is a course. But name is inherited from which class? Name is inherited from which class? Person class. Name is inherited from person class. Now both the values are what here? Null. Because are you given any value to this name? No. So based on the reusability and organization of classes, okay, now you have a different types of inheritances, right? Based on the reusability and organization of classes, you have a different types of inheritances. Yes. So based on the reusability of yes. So based on the reusability or organization of classes, so organization of classes. So there are various types of which one? Inheritance. One is called as a single level inheritance, and second one is called as a multi-level inheritance. Third one is called as a multiple what? Inheritance. Fourth one is called as a hierarchical inheritance, and fifth one is called as which one? Hybrid inheritance. So based on the reusability of the classes, based on the reusability or organization of classes, Based on the reusability or organization of classes, there are various types of what here? Inheritances. So that can be single level inheritance, that can be multi-level inheritance, that can be multiple inheritance, that can be hierarchical inheritance, that can be what here? Hybrid inheritance. But this classification is based on what? The way how you are organizing it. For example, if you take single level inheritance, there will be one base class and one derived class. So one parent and one child, right? So this is A and what is this here? B. So B derived from which class here? A class. So one parent and one child. Now this you call it as which inheritance? Single level. This is called as single level inheritance. Suppose if more than one level of inheritance, suppose A and then B and there is what here? C. So A class and there is a B class and there is what here? C class. Now C class is derived from which class? B class, and B is derived from which class? A class. So child inherits the properties from father and father inherits from which one here? Grandfather, right? So this kind of inheritance, you call it as which one? Multi-level. This is called as which inheritance? Multi-level inheritance. If a class is derived from more than one parent class, then it is called as which one? Multiple. So there is a class and there is a B class and there is what here? C class. So C derived from how many classes here? Two classes. One is A class and one more is what? B class. And this is called as which inheritance? Multiple. This is called multiple inheritance. If a class is derived from more than one base class, if a class is derived from more than one base class, then it is called as multiple inheritance. If more than one class is derived from same base class, if more than one class is derived from one base class, then it is called which inheritance? Hierarchical inheritance. Okay. So this kind of inheritance is called which one? Hierarchical. So B and C are derived from which one? A. B and C are derived from A. Now this is called hierarchical. So this is called as which inheritance? Hierarchical inheritance. But if there is more than one type of inheritance, okay, suppose there is A class is there and there is a B class and there is a C and there is what? D. If there is multiple types of inheritances, okay, there is multiple types of inheritances, okay, to achieve, okay. So that kind of inheritance, you call it as which one? Hybrid. Now this is called as which inheritance? Hierarchical. And this is called as multi-level. And this is called as multiple. How many types of inheritances are there? More than one. More than one. So that you call it as which one? Hybrid. So this is called as which inheritance? Hybrid. So it means you are developing. See, what is the meaning of this? You are developing one data type. See, developing a class is nothing but developing one data type. You are developing one data type using which data type? Another data type. But is it that data type should be a similar type or different type? Similar type. Okay, suppose I cannot say car is an animal, right? Car cannot inherit animal because car is not a animal. Okay, na? So always the inheritance is between which type? Similar type. Similar type means which share the same properties. Which share the same properties and behavior. Which share same properties and behavior. Then only you have to go for inheritance. Otherwise, you should not go for which one? Inheritance. Then only you have to go for inheritance. Otherwise, you should not go for inheritance. For example, see here. Suppose assume that. Suppose here you can write, see, you can write a constructor with arguments or parameters, or you can write a constructor without parameters. You can write with parameters, you can write it without parameters. But if it is having with parameters, for example, there is a class, again, person is there, and I write a constructor with a parameter called which one? Name. So constructor is having how many parameters? One parameter. Now this dot name equal to which one? Name. Okay, so are you giving value within the constructor or sending it, right? So sending, because this constructor is receiving value or not? Yes. So name is which variable? Local variable, and assigned to which variable? Property. Local variable is assigned to which one? Property. And what is the name of the property? Name. What is the name of the property? Name. If you want to read the value, I'm saying get what is the name of the property? Get a name. So this get a name is a method, and this method, what it returns? Get a name is a method which returns what? This dot name. This dot name. Now there is only getter, but is it any setter is there here? No. Okay. So once you assign the name, can you modify? No, you cannot modify. Now there is a class. Okay, there is a person. Who is a person here? Employee. So employee is a person. Employee is a person. Means employee extends. Employee extends which class here? Person. So whatever properties are there in person, that properties are inherited in which class? Employee. So employee is having a constructor, and this constructor receive the name as well as which one? Job. So here derived class constructor or subclass constructor receive the values of which class? Base class, as well as it is also receive the values of same type. Okay. So where I'm saying this super I'm sending which one? Name. So here I'm calling the constructor of which class? Super class, by sending which value? Name. So whatever name you send, that name is assigned to which one? Name property, and return to which class constructor? Derived class constructor. And I'm saying this dot job equal to which one? Job. So employee is having how many values now? Two values. One is a name and one more is which one? Job. But name is inherited from which class? Super class. And job is belongs to which class? Employee class. So after this, what I'm doing, I'm trying to write one method here. Now what is the name of this method? Get job. And this is a method which returns. Okay. So return this dot, return this dot what? Job. So there is a setter and there is a get. Now I want to create employee. So let employee 1 equal to new. What is the name of the data type? Employee. So employee, this is invoking constructor or not? Yes. This employee is having constructor with how many arguments? 2 arguments. Now you have to give how many values? 2 values. What is the first value? Name of the employee, and one more is which one? Job of the employee. Name of them. Now let employee 2 equal to new employee, and this is the name of the employee, and this is what here? Job of the employee. So there is a name and there is also which one? Job. So how many values you try to store or input? 2 values. So what will happen? First, it will call the constructor of. It will call the see, you are creating object of which class? Employee class. It will call the constructor of which class? Employee class. And this constructor receive how many values? 2 values. First one is a name and second one is a job. And this will call the constructor of which class? Super class, by sending which one? Name. But is it new? New will create the object or not? Yes. So what is the name of this object? Employee 1. Having which property? Name. Having which property? Name. And what is the value of name is given? Some nourish. And then return to which one? Constructor of which class? Employee class. And this dot job it will create one more property called job, and the job is given some CO like that, right? Yes. Just to try to understand this. And after this, I want to get these values. How can I get these values? I can write emp1 dot, what is this? Get a name. Okay. emp1 dot, what is this? Get a job. Console dot log, emp2 dot, what is this? Get a name. So storing data and reading data. emp2 dot, what is this here? Get a job. So there is a setters and there is a getters. Now you can see the value is Naresh and this is a job and this is a name and this is what? Job. So always you store the data within the objects, right? So to create an object, what you required? To create an object, what you required? Class. For every object behind there is one class. So class is a data type and object is what here? Instance. Object is an instance of that class. Object is an instance of a class. Okay. See, you can write a function in JavaScript, as just now you have seen. In ES6, you write a function with the which arguments? Optional arguments or default arguments. Okay, function. Now function with the which arguments? Default arguments or which one? Optional. Optional which one? Arguments. Default arguments or optional arguments or parameters. Anything you can. Okay, default arguments are optional arguments, or you can say these are optional. Optional arguments are optional parameters. You can say optional parameters. So what is the meaning of this here? A function, see, you write a function generally, when you write a function or method or anything, right? You may write a function with the parameters or without parameters. For example, you are writing a function. You are writing a function like this. Okay. Some function. And what is the name of the function? Function 1 with what? A comma B. So I said A comma B, right? Function 1, A comma B. So here A and B are called which parameters? Required parameters. Required parameters means this parameters required values or not? Yes. If you don't give the values to this A and B, is it allowed or not allowed? Not, because it required how many values here? 2 values. Okay, I must call the function 1 by sending how many values? 2 values. So this 100 is a value of A and 200 is a value of B. But when it comes to the default parameters or optional parameters, the optional parameters are given values at the time of writing the function. Okay. Optional parameters are given values at the time of writing the function. Suppose I write a function 2. I said A equal to 0. I said A equal to 0 and B equal to what? 0. So A and B are given default values or not? Yes. This is called as with. This is called as which parameters? Optional parameter. So optional parameters you don't require to give the values, but the values are given at the time of writing the function. Values are given at the time of writing the function. Suppose if I call the function 2 without sending any values, then what will be the value of A? 0. What will be the value of B? 0. I can call this function 2 even by sending the value of A. Then what is the value of A? 100. What is the value of B? 0. I can call this function 2. I can call this function 2 by sending some 1002. So what is the value of A? 1000. What is the value of B? 2000. Correct or not? So function with the optional parameters are given values at the time of writing function. Okay, if you don't give the values to these parameters, the values is given by whom? Function itself. The values are given by whom? Function itself, because at the time of writing function are given values or not? Yes. So this is also one feature which is introduced in what? ES script, ECMA script what? 6, which is released in 2015, right? So just now we have seen, right? ES JavaScript features. What is this? Default parameters. And even I'll tell you this. What is this arrow functions also? I'll tell you, don't worry. Default parameters. This is called as which one? Default parameters. So default parameters are given values. Default parameters. Default parameters are given values at the time of okay, defining function. Okay, if values are not given at the time of invoking function, at the time of invoking function, what will happen? JavaScript engine assign which values? Default values. Okay, right. So what is the syntax of writing this function? Okay, function followed by what name? Function name. And you write a parameter by giving which one? Value. So parameter followed by which one? Value, right? So this is the syntax of writing a function with the default parameters. So functions, methods. Now inside a class, suppose there is a class again. Okay. Suppose if you take this, there is a constructor, there is a person is there, right? Person is a data type, and what person is having? Name. Person is having name and date of birth. So person is having how many properties? 2 properties are there. One is a name and one more is a date of birth. But suppose if the person doesn't know, I mean, if you don't know the date of birth of a person, then I want to assign which value? Default value. So what is the default value of date of birth? Null. Suppose if I don't know the date of birth, then it will assign which one? Null. So I'm saying this dot date of birth equal to date of birth. Okay. So get name and get date of birth. And this return, I'm saying this dot, what is the value written? Date of birth. So what is the name of the class here? Person. Okay. So then class, there is a person. What is a person now? Student. Student extends. Student extends which one? Person. So student is a person. So what student is having? Name, date of birth, name, date of birth, and also have name, date of birth as also have course. Okay, name, comma, name is compulsory. Okay, name is compulsory and course, comma, date of birth, also I'm giving what here? Null. So if I don't give the date of birth here, if I don't give the date of birth, then it will give which one? It will send which value? Null value. Okay, now if I give the date of birth, which value sent to the superclass constructor? Given date of birth. So how many values I should send to the superclass constructor? 2 values. One is name and one more is which one? Date of birth. But if I don't give the date of birth, it send which value? Null. If I give the date of birth, then it will send which value? Given date of birth, right? Yes. Then after that, I'm saying this dot course equal to which one? Course. Then I'm writing a method called get course, and this will return this dot which one? Course. This dot course. Now there is a constructor for initialization. And there is a getters like get name and get date of birth, and there is one more getter. And what is that getter? Get a course, right? Yes. Then what I'm doing, I'm creating student 1. Now let student 1 equal to new. I'm creating object of which class? Student class. By sending, now this constructor is having, student class constructor is having how many values? 3 values. Suppose I know student 1 name. I know student 1 name and course, but I don't know I don't know date of birth. So to this constructor, how many values you have given? 2 values. What is the first value is given? Name. And what is the second value is given? Course. But are you given date of birth? No. Then what is the default parameter value? Null. It takes the date of birth as what now? Null. Right? Suppose I'm trying to say letter. Okay, let student 2 equal to new student. Okay, new student. New student, I'm trying to give the name of the student. Okay, and course of the student. And even I'm trying to give what? Date of birth. Okay, some date of birth I'm giving it, right? This is a date of birth. Then this, you are calling the constructor by sending how many values here? 3 values. Okay, so what is the first value? Name. What is the first value? Name. And what is the second value? Course. And what is the third value? Date of birth. But is it taken date of birth as a null or given date of birth? Given date of birth. But if you don't give this value, then it takes which value? Default value. And what is the default value is given? Null. Then how can I get this data? Console.log student1 dot get name. Okay, na? So comma student1 dot get course, and student1 dot get date of birth. Get date of birth. Console dot log student2 dot, so get name. Okay, student2 dot get what is this? Course. And student2 dot get what you are writing now? Date of birth. But this is the function or method with which parameters? Default. So which parameters it is? Default. Now you can see Naresh JS, and what is this? Null. Because are you given value for date of birth? No. So why this? Because okay, right? So there is again Suresh is there DS, and this is a date of birth. If you give the value to the default parameter, it takes the default value. If you don't give the value, if you give the value, it takes the given value. But if you don't give the value, then it takes which value? Default value. Then it takes which value? Default value takes it, right? So that is called as a default parameters. Okay. So, but a function can have either one default parameter, or it can have more than one. One or more than one, right? A function can have either one default parameter, or it can have more than one default parameter. But this is which inheritance? Single level or multi-level? Single level. So how many classes are there here? 2 classes. One is one parent and one child class. But you can also have a multi-level. Multi-level also you can have it, right? Multi-level. You can also have which inheritance multi-level. You can also have which inheritance multi-level inheritance. So what you do in multi-level? Multi-level means one or more than one level, more than one. So there is a class, parent class, and again, if a class is derived from another derived class, what is multi-level? If the class is derived from another derived class. If a child class inherit from another child class, then it is called as which one? Multi-level. So here I am writing a constructor. I am writing a constructor saying that console.log. This is a constructor, a class constructor. This is a class constructor, right? Then I write a class B, and class B extends what here? A. Class B extends A. Now B is a derived class and A is a base class. So constructor, again I write it. Is it required to call a constructor of which class? Superclass. Until unless you don't call the superclass constructor, is it properties of superclass are inherited in child class? No. Then you have to call it before using this. And here I am saying console.log, and this is which constructor? B class constructor. Okay, then again I am writing a class C, and class C extends which one? A. Class C extends A, and here I am writing again constructor, and this constructor again call the constructor of which class? Superclass. This is again called the constructor of superclass, and where I am saying console.log, and this is which constructor? C class constructor. So what will happen when I create? What will happen when I create object of C class? So whenever I create an object of C class, it will call the constructor of which class? C class. And that C class constructor is calling the constructor of which class? B class. And B class constructor is calling the constructor of A class. So A properties are inherited in B, and A and B properties are inherited in C. But is C inheriting properties of A directly? No. It is inheriting the properties of A using which one? B, right? But it is required. But it is required to call the constructor. So A class constructor, C class. Where is the mistake? Oh, class C extends. Class C extends what? B, right? Yeah, now A class constructor, B class constructor, and one more is a C class constructor. So C derived from B, B derived from A. Okay, but it is required. But it is required to call the constructor of which class? Base class within the derived class. So properties, now you have to remember one thing. So properties of base class are not inherited automatically in what? Derived class. You have to remember here, properties of base class are not inherited. Base class are not inherited within derived class. Within derived class, what here? Automatically. It is required. Derived class constructor is derived class constructor required. Derived class constructor required to call constructor of which class? Base class. Okay, then only it is inherited, right? Otherwise, no. Constructor of base class or which class? Super class. Until unless if the constructor of superclass is not called, is it those properties are inherited or not inherited? Not inherited. Okay, right. Just to try to understand this. Okay, inheritance. What is the meaning of inheritance, right? So sometimes you may modify the functionality of base class function. See methods of base class. Methods of base class are inherited automatically. Methods of base class are inherited automatically within what? Derived class. Methods are inherited directly, but properties are not inherited directly. In order to inherit properties, it is required to call constructor. Derived class constructor should call constructor of base class. But methods are inherited how? Automatically. Suppose methods are inherited automatically. Methods are inherited automatically. Okay. So this is which class? Parent class. Okay. So parent is having, okay, parent is having one functionality called, parent is having which one? One method is there. What is the name of this method? Walk method, right? So this is an instance method or method. What is a parent behavior here? Walk. So I just write here console.log. So what is this behavior? Parent. Parent what here? Walk. So walk is a behavior of which one? Parent. Okay. So there is a class. What is the class here? Child. So child extends parent. Now, how many methods are there in child? One method. Which method? Walk. So walk method of parent is inherited in what? Child. Walk method of parent is inherited in what? Child. And child also have his own method. What is that method? Run. So child is having total how many methods? Two methods. One is walk and one more is what? Run. So child run. But is also walk. But walk is inherited from which class? Parent. But for inheriting, are you calling anything? No. But for inheriting properties, you should call the constructor of which class? Super class. For inheriting properties, you should call the constructor of which class? Super class. But methods are inherited what? Automatically. Right? So I create a child object. Let us see one equal to new. New, what is this? Child. Now child is having how many methods now? Two methods. Child run, and child also what here? Walk. Child run as well as walk. But walk is a method of child? No. Walk is not a method of child. It is inherited from whom? Parent. Okay. It is not a method of child. It is inherited from parent. Now child run and child also walk like a child also walk like which one? Parent. Child walk like a parent. So methods are inherited automatically, but properties are not inherited automatically. It is required to call the constructor of which class? Base class. Okay. Yes. Then whatever methods inherited within what? Child class, you may do some changes. You may do changes, right? You may do some changes, right? So that changes means you can modify the functionality of base class method. You can modify the functionality of the base class methods within which class? Child class. Within the child class. But how can you modify the functionality of the parent class within the child class? Okay, that can be done. Okay, that can be done by using which one? Method. So that can be done by using what? Method. What? Method. What here? You know Java, right? Some people. What is that approach? Method overriding. You can modify the functionality of the base class. You can modify the base class methods within what? Derived class. But how that is done? By using one concept called which one? Method overriding. Method overriding, right? So what is method overriding? Redefining of base class method within derived class. Okay, redefining of, okay, base class method within what? Derived class. is called method overriding. Why you override a method? Why you override method? To provide different implementation of base class method within derived class. You don't want the same implementation in derived class. You want to have a different implementation of base class method in what? Derived class. Then you modify base class function within the derived class by using which concept? Method overriding. So this method overriding comes in what? This method overriding is what here? Polymorphism. So poly means many. Morphism is what? Forms. Here there is no data types here, Rajesh. Data types are not there. JavaScript is a dynamically typed. JavaScript is a dynamically typed. Okay. JavaScript is a dynamically typed. So when you are saying it is a dynamically typed, is it declared with a type or without type? Without a type. So there is no way of like type of variables or type of parameters, right? But anyway, signature must be same. Overriding means it should have the same signature or different? Same. Name should be same. Parameters should be what here? Same. So method overriding allows to method overriding allows to modify functionality of base class method within what? Derived class. Method overriding allows to modify functionality of base class method within derived. So for example, when you are working with the frameworks, what will happen in frameworks? Frameworks provide some abstracts. Frameworks provide what? Abstracts. What do you do? Inherit, then modify. Okay, you provide implementation according to your logic. Then what you do it? You go for which one? Method overriding. You go for method overriding, right? Yes. Suppose a framework provide one class. Assume that a framework provide one class. One class is provided by framework, and that class is inherited by whom? Programmer. And provide the implementation according to his own logic or not? Yes. How it is done? By using which concept? Overriding. Method overriding, right? So it is very important, right? So when it comes to the frameworks and developing of which one? Classes. So already suppose JavaScript is given one class. Okay, you want to develop similar class. You inherit, then modify the class by overriding which one? Methods. Overriding comes under which one? Polymorphism. Poly means what here? Many. Morphism means what? Forms. So defining one thing in how many forms? Many forms. Okay, that you can call it as which one? Polymorphism. Okay, that is called as a polymorphism, right? So just to try to understand this, I said, JavaScript is never ended. Okay, now, so if you want, keep on telling, right? Lot of things are there in what? JavaScript, right? So what we'll do is, I'll just tell you this method overriding in the next class, and after that we'll start with what? How to use this JavaScript within HTML. Okay, even I'll tell you some functions like arrow functions. Okay, some which are helpful. I'll tell you, and then we'll go for HTML with HTML and with overloading. Overloading actually not there. Actually, overloading is not there. If you write, I'll tell you that also. Why overloading is not there in the JavaScript, right? That also we'll discuss. Anyway, but I'm saying now, if you are learning other languages, you may get so many questions, right? Java, whatever you learn in Java, you may ask all the questions in what? JavaScript. Okay, now. But anyway, we'll try to see that. But Monday definitely will start JavaScript using with what? HTML. Okay, na? Right. So today we'll stop it here and Monday we'll continue this. Right. Thank you. We'll see here. If time is there, I'll discuss. Bootstrap is a library here. Okay, is a library. Bootstrap is a library. Okay, it is having some CSS. Predefined styles will be there. Okay, yes. Bootstrap is a library. It is not any technology or something. Okay, na? So don't think that Bootstrap means something else. It's a JavaScript library. We'll discuss otherwise. Yeah, we'll stop today. Monday we'll see, right? Okay. Yeah, we'll complete here. Don't worry, right? Yes.